Howdy everybody, I'm up here with the sheepies and I have a special experiment going on. Now I've gone through a swath of land here. It's about 1 meter wide, and I've gone through with the broadfork, loosened up the soil, and then gone behind the broadfork with that metal bar that I use to break it up even a little bit more. And now I'm putting a little bit of lime in here that you could probably see. One of the things about the tropics is that it's very difficult to grow annual crops here. And the reason why is because the soil is very acidic. And so we have to sometimes treat the soil with some lime to bring the pH a little bit higher toward normal. It's important to remember that tropical soils are forest soils. And when we see open areas like this, it's basically because people in previous centuries cut down all the trees, and that left very poor soil. Now up here a little bit higher, I have another swath that I use the broadfork on as well. And I'm going to go up and check. I put some lime there already. Okay, so I added a little bit more to this upper swath here as well. Now you may be wondering, what are those things that you're adding lime to? Well, I'm always doing research, and I'm always trying to find ways to both improve the soil here on this farm as well as improve the overall ecosystem here on the farm. Behind me you can see, you might be able to see it if I go high enough here, this clumping grass behind me. And I've talked about this before. This type of grass prevents other things from growing around it, and we don't want that. We want to have a nice lush area of grass for the sheep to eat. You know, the sheep do eat this grass a little bit, but they don't particularly like it either, so that's another downside. So I've been doing research about what might be the best types of grass to grow in this area for the sheep. By analogy, we have what would be called a Mediterranean climate, in which we have a long dry season, and so I've been doing research about what types of grasses are growing over in a Mediterranean climate, and to my surprise, Kentucky bluegrass is one of the grasses that grows really well over there in the Mediterranean. So I decided I was going to try to plant some here, but rather than buy a whole bunch of seed and try to seed the whole farm, I want to see whether it's going to actually grow, whether it can tolerate the climate and type of soil that we have. Now I already know that the soil's a little acidic for it. That's why I'm putting the lime on there to raise the pH a little bit. And Kentucky bluegrass isn't the only one that I have. I have a number of different ones that I'm going to try in here and see if it grows. And if it does, then I'll go into a more aggressive stance. Okay, we're here on a new day. We got a little bit of rain last night, which is good, and I'm cutting a new swath. So this will be the third one in this area with the broadfork. And I wanted to emphasize that these swaths that I'm cutting here are on contour. And that's very important because the ground here is very crusty and not easy to penetrate. And that means that when we get a big rain, last night we just had a small rain, but if we get a big rain, the water is going to sheet down this inclination here, and it's going to stop where I've cut these swaths, and it's going to soak in. So that's the reason that I have these on contour. So I'm going to go ahead with the broadfork and do a little bit more work. This ground here also is very rocky, so I'm constantly encountering rocks, and I just got one. So the broadfork is great for breaking up hard pan soil like this. However, to plant grass and small seeds like we're going to be putting in here, we want it broken up just a little bit more. The ground is a little too clumpy with the broadfork. So I'm going to go through here with the bar now and break up the clumps a little bit. Now you can see the difference that using the bar makes. This area I'm showing you here was done with the broadfork, and now we're moving in to the area that I did with the bar. And you can see the difference. It's a much better substrate to be planting small seeds. So I'm going to keep working. This is a difficult job because the broadfork weighs, I don't know, 20-25 pounds. And the bar weighs about 15. And so every time I lift the bar up and down to break up the clumps, it's like having a 15-pound weight and doing arm curls with a weight very fast. And so this is one instance where the guys really have it over us. You guys have more upper body and more arm strength than we women do. So I'm going to sign off here. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.